There's something almost nobody talks about. Debt doesn't destroy you all at once. It wears you down slowly. It ages your mind, your body, your energy while you're sitting there thinking you're just making payments. And the worst part? You realize it way too late. When you finally see there's a hidden system operating in the shadows, draining years off your life without you even noticing. Look, I'm gonna be real with you right now. If you think debt is just a number on a screen, just some balance you're chipping away at, you need to stick around till the end of this. Because if you don't understand how this system actually operates, it's gonna keep taking something that no amount of money can ever give back. Time. Your actual life. And anyone who's been following my content knows I don't sugarcoat this stuff. The truth comes raw here. So let me tell you how this thing really starts. It begins with tiny compromises. A payment plan here. A maxed out credit card there. That promise you make yourself that next month's gonna be better. Next month you'll get ahead. But here's what nobody tells you about each debt you take on. It brings something else with it. Constant worry. And constant worry isn't just mental, dude. It's physical wear and tear. It's shorter sleep. It's cortisol pumping through your system every single day. It's accelerated aging that's invisible, silent, and progressive. You don't see it happening until you look in the mirror one day and you're like, damn, when did I start looking this tired? When did these lines show up? When did I stop feeling young? You know what's crazy? Most people think stress is just this abstract thing. Like it's all in your head or whatever. But that's not how it works. When you're carrying debt, your body is literally in survival mode. Every time you check your bank account and see that negative number, every time a bill notification pops up on your phone, every time you gotta decide between gas money and groceries, your brain interprets that as danger. Real danger. The same way your ancestors felt when they were being hunted. And your body responds the exact same way. Fight or flight. Except you can't fight a credit card company. And you can't run from interest rates. So what happens? Your system stays flooded with stress hormones. Day after day. Week after week. Month after month. And that's not just making you feel bad. That's literally aging you. That's your cells breaking down faster. That's your immune system weakening. That's your heart working overtime. That's years coming off your life expectancy while you're just trying to survive till Friday. Before we continue, check if you're already subscribed so you don't miss any more content like this, and also leave a like to motivate us to keep bringing you content like this. Thank you. Back to the video. And here's the thing that really gets me. The thing that makes me so angry about this whole setup. By the time you start noticing the damage, you're already deep in it. You're already aged. You're already worn down. You already lost time you can never get back. And the system? The system knew this would happen. They counted on it. And when you finally wake up and look around, the debt isn't just financial anymore. It became part of your emotional routine. It's woven into every single day of your life. It's the stress that hits you the second you open your eyes in the morning. Before you even get out of bed, before you brush your teeth, before you do anything, that weight is already there. Sitting on your chest. Reminding you that you're behind. That you're drowning. That you're failing. It's the constant feeling of being late to everything. Late on payments. Late on your goals. Late on your dreams. Like you're running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up and you can't ever catch your breath. You can't ever catch up. And the worst part? Deep down, you start believing that maybe this is just how life is supposed to be for people like you. Maybe you're not meant to get ahead. Maybe you're not smart enough, disciplined enough, lucky enough. Maybe the struggle is just your permanent reality. That guilt starts following you everywhere. It's there when you're trying to enjoy a meal. It's there when you're with your family. It's there when you're supposed to be relaxing, supposed to be living. But you can't live because that voice in your head keeps reminding you. Yo, you're in the red. You're not free. Every small pleasure feels stolen. Every moment of peace feels temporary. Like you don't deserve it until you've paid everything back. Until you've somehow earned the right to just exist without that constant pressure. And then there's the fear. Oh man, the fear. The fear of a future that seems to be shrinking with every passing month. You look ahead and instead of seeing possibilities, you see more of the same. More payments. More interest. More years of your life dedicated to digging yourself out of a hole that just keeps getting deeper. You start doing the math in your head. If I pay this much every month, I'll be free in how many years? 5 years? 10 years? 15? And suddenly you realize you're calculating your freedom in decades. You're measuring your life in terms of debt repayment schedules. But here's what really messes with your head. This wear and tear, this constant exhaustion, this rapid aging, it's not accidental. It wasn't some unfortunate side effect that nobody saw coming. This was designed. This was the plan all along. The system that created this debt economy, the institutions that profit from it, they studied human psychology. They know exactly what chronic financial stress does to a person. They know it breaks you down. They know it makes you compliant. They know it keeps you running in place. Think about it for a second. When you're exhausted, when you're worn down to nothing, when you're just trying to survive day to day, what do you have energy for? Do you have energy to question the interest rates? Do you have energy to negotiate better terms? Do you have energy to learn about financial systems and figure out how you got trapped in the first place? No, you don't. You just pay. You just keep your head down and you pay. Because that's all you have energy for. That's all that seems possible. And that's exactly what they want. A population that's too tired to fight back. Too stressed to organize. Too worn down to demand better. The exhaustion is a feature, not a bug. It's the invisible chain that keeps people locked in place. You think you're free because you're not in actual prison, but your debt has created a cell you carry with you everywhere you go. A cell made of stress hormones and sleepless nights and the slow, grinding awareness that your youth is being stolen one payment at a time. I need you to comment right now if you've ever felt this. If you've ever felt like the debt is taking your peace in a way you can't even explain to people. Like there's this invisible weight that's crushing you and nobody else can see it. Nobody else understands. Comment and let me know how many of you have lived this exact experience. Because I guarantee you're not alone. I guarantee there are thousands, maybe millions of people reading this right now who know exactly what I'm talking about. Who felt their life force being drained by numbers on a screen. And you want to know the really twisted part? The part that makes this whole thing even darker? Society tells you it's your fault. Society looks at you struggling under the weight of debt and says you must have been irresponsible. You must have lived beyond your means. You must have made bad choices. Like there's something morally wrong with you for ending up in this position. And that shame, that judgment, it just adds another layer to the exhaustion. Now you're not just fighting the debt. You're fighting the guilt. You're fighting the belief that you deserve this suffering because you somehow failed at being a proper adult. But nobody talks about the medical emergency that started it. Nobody talks about the job that didn't pay enough to cover basic living expenses. Nobody talks about the student loans you were told would lead to a better life. Nobody talks about the car that broke down when you needed it most. Nobody talks about the family member who needed help. Nobody talks about the thousand small emergencies and circumstances and systemic failures that push regular people into debt. They just look at the end result and judge you for being there. So you age. You age physically from the stress. You age mentally from the constant pressure. You age emotionally from carrying shame that isn't even yours to carry. And the system just keeps extracting, keeps taking, keeps profiting from your suffering while telling you that you're the problem. That if you were just better, stronger, smarter, more disciplined, you wouldn't be in this mess. Because here's the truth that almost nobody sees. The truth that's hiding in plain sight while everyone's too exhausted to notice it. The system never just wanted your money. That's not the end game here. Money is renewable. You can make more money. You can earn it back. What the system really wants is your constancy, your predictability, your compliance. They want you locked into a pattern that you can't break. And the best way to keep someone constant, the most effective way to keep someone predictable and compliant, is to keep them tired. Keep them struggling. Keep them just barely hanging on. See, the debt that ages you is absolutely perfect for the system. It's the ideal mechanism of control. Because an exhausted individual doesn't question anything. An exhausted person doesn't have the mental bandwidth to negotiate. Doesn't have the energy to research alternatives. Doesn't have the clarity to see the bigger picture. They just pay. Month after month, year after year, they just keep paying. And that's what makes the whole machine run. That's what keeps the gears turning. Your exhaustion is the oil that lubricates this entire economy. Think about how perfectly designed this is. You wake up tired because you didn't sleep well. You didn't sleep well because you were worrying about money. You go to work tired. You perform your job tired. You come home tired. And when you're tired, what do? You take the path of least resistance. You make the minimum payment. You don't call the creditor to negotiate. You don't research debt consolidation options. You don't look for better interest rates. You definitely don't have energy to learn about the legal and financial systems that created this trap. You just survive. You just endure. You just keep going because stopping feels even scarier than continuing. And while you're in this state, while you're running on empty, something really insidious happens. You start making decisions from a place of desperation instead of strategy. You take out another loan to cover the first loan. You get another credit card to pay off the previous credit card. You accept predatory terms because you need relief right now, this second, and you can't think about next year. The exhaustion makes you vulnerable. Makes you easy to exploit. Makes you say yes to things that a rested, clear-minded version of yourself would never agree to. The system knows this. They've studied this. They've got entire departments full of behavioral psychologists and data analysts whose job is to understand exactly how financial stress impacts decision-making. They know that a person under chronic stress will accept higher interest rates, will miss the fine print, will agree to terms that benefit the lender at the expense of the borrower. They know that desperation is profitable, that exhaustion is an asset to them, that your deteriorating mental state is actually a business model. And here's where it gets even darker, even more calculated. The aging process that debt causes, it's not just about stress hormones and lost sleep. It's about stolen time. Think about all the hours you've spent worrying about money, all the hours calculating and recalculating your budget, all the hours on hold with customer service trying to negotiate a payment extension, all the hours working overtime or taking a second job just to stay afloat, all the hours you didn't spend with your kids, didn't spend pursuing your passions, didn't spend building skills that could actually change your situation, didn't spend living your actual life. Those hours add up to years. Literal years of your finite existence spent in service to debt. And you can't get those years back. You can eventually pay off the debt, sure. You can zero out the balance. But you can't reclaim your 30s. Can't reclaim the energy you had. Can't reclaim the opportunities you missed because you were too exhausted to see them. Can't reclaim the relationships that withered because you were too stressed to be present. The system takes your money, yeah, but it also takes your time, your youth, your vitality, your potential. And those things are worth infinitely more than whatever you borrowed. I've seen people come out the other side of major debt, and you know what they all say? They all talk about the lost years. They talk about looking at photos from before the debt spiral and barely recognizing themselves. They talk about feeling like they aged a decade in just a few years. They talk about the relationships they lost, the dreams they abandoned, the version of themselves they had to kill off just to survive. And the really messed up part? The system doesn't care. Your personal tragedy is just a line item in their profit report. Your suffering doesn't even register as real to them because to them, you're just a number, just an account, just a source of revenue. And the isolation of it all makes it so much worse. Because money is taboo to talk about, right? We live in a culture where discussing your debt, your financial struggles, your inability to make ends meet, that's considered shameful. That's considered private. So you suffer alone. You pretend everything's fine when you're with friends. You fake it on social media. You act like you're doing okay when inside you're screaming. And that isolation, that inability to be honest about what you're going through, it compounds the stress. It makes the aging process even faster. Because now you're not just carrying the debt. You're carrying the performance of being someone who doesn't have debt. You're exhausting yourself trying to maintain an illusion while reality is crushing you. The system loves this part too. Because when everyone's suffering in isolation, when everyone thinks they're the only one struggling this hard, people don't organize. They don't compare notes. They don't realize that their individual crisis is actually a collective problem. They don't connect the dots and see that maybe, just maybe, if millions of people are drowning in debt, the problem isn't individual failure. The problem is systemic design. But as long as everyone's too tired and too ashamed to talk about it, that realization never happens. The system stays protected. The profit keeps flowing. And you keep aging quietly in your private hell. So let's talk about what this really means. Let's get into the mechanics of how this aging process actually works on a level that most people never think about. Because it's not just about feeling old or looking tired. It's about fundamental changes happening in your body and brain that are literally shortening your lifespan. Your telomeres, those little caps on the end of your chromosomes that protect your DNA, they're shortening faster when you're under chronic stress. Studies have shown this. Financial stress physically ages your cells. It's measurable. It's scientific. It's real. You're not just feeling older. You are biologically older than you should be. Your brain's changing too. The constant stress is literally rewiring your neural pathways. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, it's getting bigger, more active, more sensitive. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles rational decision-making and long-term planning, it's getting weaker. You're becoming more reactive and less strategic. More emotional and less logical. And this isn't a character flaw. This is your brain adapting to a threat environment. This is what happens when you're in survival mode for too long. Your brain optimizes for immediate survival at the expense of long-term thriving. And your memory's taking hits too. Ever notice how hard it is to remember things when you're stressed about money? How you walk into a room and forget why you're there? How names slip away from you? How you can't focus on conversations because your mind keeps drifting back to your financial situation. That's not you getting dumber. That's chronic stress impacting your hippocampus, the memory center of your brain. Financial stress literally makes it harder for you to form and retrieve memories. So not only are you losing years of your life to debt, you're also losing the ability to fully remember and process the years you do have. Your relationships are aging too, deteriorating in real time. Because when you're drowning in debt, when you're exhausted and anxious and barely holding it together, you don't have much left to give to other people. Your patience runs thin. Your temper shortens. Your ability to be present and emotionally available evaporates. And the people around you, they feel it. They feel your distance. They feel your stress radiating off you even when you're trying to hide it. Partners grow apart. Friendships fade. Family connections weaken. Not because anyone stopped caring, but because the debt is taking up so much space in your life that there's barely room for anything else. And kids, man. If you've got kids while you're drowning in debt, they're absorbing all of this. They're watching you age rapidly. They're feeling the tension in the house. They're learning that money is scary and life is stressful and adults are always worried. They're inheriting your anxiety even if you never talk to them about the bills. Children are like emotional sponges. They soak up everything. And the stress you're carrying, the aging you're experiencing, it's teaching them lessons about the world that they'll carry into their own adulthood. The debt doesn't just age you. It's aging your kids too. Stealing their sense of security, their childhood lightness, their belief that the world is a safe place where good things are possible. But here's what really gets me. Here's the part that makes my blood boil when I think about it. The institutions that profit from your debt, they're not aging. They're not stressed. They're not lying awake at night worrying about making ends meet. They're thriving. They're growing. They're posting record profits while you're literally losing years off your life. The wealth transfer happening here isn't just financial. It's biological. You're giving them your life force, your health, your youth, your future. And they're converting it into quarterly earnings reports and executive bonuses and shareholder dividends. And they've got the whole system set up to make sure this keeps happening. The way debt is structured, the way interest compounds, the way minimum payments are calculated to keep you in debt as long as possible, none of that is accidental. It's engineered. There are people whose entire careers are built around figuring out how to extract maximum value from debtors over the longest possible time frame. How to keep you paying forever. How to make the balance barely move even when you're making regular payments. How to ensure that you age out before the debt does. The legal system protects them too. Bankruptcy laws that have been rewritten to make it harder for regular people to discharge debt. Collection practices that are designed to harass and intimidate. Credit reporting systems that follow you for years, limiting your options and forcing you into higher interest rates on future borrowing. Every aspect of the system is designed to keep you trapped, to keep you aging, to keep you compliant, to keep extracting until there's nothing left to extract. And then there's the cultural narrative that supports all of this. The bootstrap mythology. The idea that anyone can make it if they just work hard enough. The belief that poverty is a moral failing and wealth is a sign of virtue. All of these stories exist to protect the system. To make you blame yourself instead of questioning why the system is designed this way in the first place. To make you think that your exhaustion, your aging, your suffering, it's all your fault for not being better, stronger, more disciplined. When the reality is you're up against a machine that's designed to grind you down. A machine that profits from your deterioration. So what do? What's the answer when you realize you're caught in a system that's literally aging you to death? Well, first you gotta understand that awareness is the beginning. You can't fight what you can't see. And most people never see this. They live their whole lives thinking their stress is just personal weakness. Their exhaustion is just them not trying hard enough. Their rapid aging is just bad luck or bad genes. They never connect the dots. They never see the system operating on them. But you're seeing it now. You're understanding how this works. And that understanding, that's the first crack in the prison wall. Second, you gotta reject the shame. You gotta stop believing that your debt is a moral failing. Stop carrying the guilt that the system put on you to keep you compliant. Your debt might be your responsibility to deal with, sure, but it's not evidence that you're a bad person or a failure or somehow less than. You're a human being trying to survive in an economy that's rigged against regular people. And once you let go of that shame, once you stop wasting energy on guilt, you free up mental bandwidth for actual strategy. Third, you gotta get honest with yourself, with the people around you. Break the silence around financial struggle. Talk about what you're going through. Because I guarantee you're not alone. I guarantee other people in your life are drowning too. And when you start being real about it, when you break that taboo, you create space for collective understanding, for shared strategies, for mutual support. The system wants you isolated and ashamed. So connection and honesty are acts of rebellion. And here's what most people never realize until it's too late. This exhaustion, this rapid aging, this psychological wear and tear that debt creates, that's just the surface level. That's just the part you can feel and measure and point to. There's another layer underneath all of this. A deeper mechanism that's way more hidden and way more devastating. And this is the part that separates the people who eventually escape from the people who stay trapped forever. This is the part that determines whether you age out of debt or whether debt ages you into the grave. See, what happens over time, what happens after years of chronic financial stress and exhaustion and that constant low-grade panic, your brain starts to fundamentally rewire itself around scarcity. You develop what psychologists call a scarcity mindset. And this isn't just about thinking poor or having negative thoughts. This is about your actual cognitive architecture changing. Your brain starts operating from a place of permanent emergency. Every decision you make gets filtered through this lens of not enough. Not enough money. Not enough time. Not enough options. Not enough hope. And when your brain is stuck in scarcity mode, something really dangerous happens. You lose the ability to think long-term. You lose the capacity for strategic planning. Your entire focus narrows down to immediate survival. Putting out today's fire. Getting through this week. Making it to the next paycheck. And while you're trapped in that short-term thinking, while you're operating in crisis mode, you can't see the opportunities that could actually change your situation. You can't invest in education because you need that money now. You can't take a risk on a better job because you can't afford the gap in income. You can't build anything for the future because the present is constantly collapsing. This is the invisible trap within the trap. The debt ages you physically through stress. But the scarcity mindset ages you mentally by locking you into reactive thinking. And the system knows this. They've studied this. They understand that once someone develops a true scarcity mindset, once someone's brain has been rewired around permanent emergency, that person becomes incredibly predictable, incredibly controllable, incredibly profitable. Because they'll always choose the short-term relief over the long-term solution. They'll always take the payday loan even though the interest is criminal. They'll always accept the predatory terms because right now they're drowning and that predatory offer looks like oxygen. And the really messed up part, the part that almost nobody talks about, is that this scarcity mindset doesn't just affect your financial decisions. It bleeds into everything. Your relationships become transactional. Your thinking becomes rigid. Your worldview shrinks. You start seeing threats everywhere and possibilities nowhere. You become suspicious of good fortune because you're so used to things going wrong. You reject help when it's offered because you don't believe you deserve it, or you're afraid of owing someone, or you've been burned too many times before. The debt doesn't just trap your money. It traps your entire psychology. Your whole way of being in the world. And here's where it gets even darker. There are certain people who never develop this scarcity mindset even when they're in debt. There are people who go through the same financial stress, the same exhaustion, the same pressure, and somehow they don't get mentally trapped. Somehow they maintain the ability to think strategically, to see opportunities, to take calculated risks, to believe in their own capacity to change their situation. And the difference between these people and everyone else, the thing that protects them from that psychological rewiring, it's not what you think. It's not willpower. It's not intelligence. It's not even financial literacy, though that helps. It's something way more fundamental. Something that exists before the debt even starts. Something in how they were raised, or what they experienced early in life, or the examples they saw, or the beliefs they formed about themselves and the world. Some people have a kind of psychological immunity to scarcity thinking. And some people are incredibly vulnerable to it. And the system, the institutions that profit from debt, they can identify who's who. They can see in the data who's likely to get trapped in that scarcity mindset and who's likely to fight their way out. And they target accordingly. They offer different terms. They use different collection strategies. They allocate resources based on who's likely to be a long-term profit source and who's likely to escape. This is the hidden system that almost nobody sees. This is the second layer that operates beneath the obvious layer of interest rates and payment schedules. There's a psychological profiling happening, a sorting process, a determination being made about your mental vulnerability. And once you've been categorized as someone with a scarcity mindset, once the system has identified you as psychologically trapped, the extraction intensifies. The targeting becomes more aggressive, because they know you're not going anywhere. They know your brain has been rewired to keep you exactly where you are. Some people look at their financial situation and they see a problem to solve. They see a challenge to overcome. They maintain their sense of agency even when things are bad. But other people look at the same situation and they see proof of their inadequacy. They see confirmation that they're not capable of better. They see evidence that this is just how life is for people like them. And that difference in perception, that difference in how you interpret your circumstances, it determines everything. It determines whether you age into freedom or whether you age into deeper entrapment. And the most terrifying thing is that you might not even know which category you're in. You might think you're fighting when really you've already been psychologically captured. You might think you're being strategic when really you're just reacting in predictable patterns that the system has already accounted for. You might think you're maintaining hope when really that hope is just enough to keep you compliant but not enough to actually change anything. This is why some people seem to age 10 years financially in just 2 years of debt while others go through the same experience and come out relatively intact. It's not about the amount of debt. It's not even about the severity of the financial stress. It's about whether that stress succeeds in rewiring your psychology around scarcity. It's about whether the system manages to capture your mind in addition to your money. And most people never see this happening. They never realize they've been psychologically trapped until years later when they look back and wonder why they couldn't see the obvious solutions. Why they couldn't take the clear paths out. Why they stayed stuck when options existed. The system pretends this is all your fault. Pretends that the difference between people who escape and people who don't is just personal responsibility or work ethic or financial discipline. But that's a lie designed to protect the system. The truth is there's a psychological mechanism at work, a sorting process, a targeting strategy, and it's operating on you right now, determining your trajectory, calculating your vulnerability, deciding how much life it can extract from you before you break completely. And the scariest part? This second layer, this psychological profiling and targeting, this scarcity mindset trap, it's not even the deepest level. There's something underneath this too. Something about who gets access to the tools and knowledge and support systems that could prevent the psychological capture in the first place. Something about why certain communities get targeted more aggressively than others. Something about the intergenerational transfer of financial trauma and how the system exploits that. Something about the way that debt doesn't just age individuals but ages entire families, entire neighborhoods, entire demographic groups simultaneously. That third layer, the one almost nobody ever perceives, that's what really decides who escapes and who never gets out of the cycle. And until you understand how that operates, until you see the full scope of what's happening, you're still fighting blind. You're still aging in the dark. You're still giving years of your life to a system that's got mechanisms within mechanisms within mechanisms, all designed to keep extracting until there's nothing left of you to extract.